hard for us to remember when we were simply a soul, hanging out in the universe, enjoying our experience, looking down at this planet Earth. And perhaps we would wonder, what would it be like to just slide down through time and space and the density of matter and arrive on this physical, vibrantly beautiful planet filled with light and color and sound and water and sunshine and all of these adventures wide open for us to experience in the physical form. Each of us guiding one another and walking side by side in community. What would that journey be like? Welcome to Healing Our Souls. Good morning and welcome to Healing Our Souls. Today we are going to have just a free conversation, chat from my soul to yours, my heart to yours. I had scheduled an interview or a conversation with a friend of mine, and she had some scheduling conflicts, so we're going to push it back. You'll meet Anne in a few weeks. But it was interesting when she said she wasn't available, there was this curiosity in me of, so I wonder what we're supposed to talk about this week. You know, I schedule just 1 week ahead because it feels like the energy that wants to flow through needs to be current with what's happening and with what feels right. And I don't like to plan far ahead. And so I was thinking about that this morning, and I went into meditation and just sat with it for a while. Like, what is the lesson here today? What is it that needs to be shared or needs to be spoken in this moment? And it just kept coming back to relationships, to balanced relationships. So that's what we're going to talk about. I have a few ideas, and we'll just see where the conversation takes us. So this month, the month of October, astrologers last month started saying, get ready, get ready, because it's going to be a month where your relationship with yourself and then your relationship with others is, you're going to be given this opportunity to clean out some old stuck stories, to shake things up and see what is truth underneath all of that. And I usually read the astrology reports, and I sort of use it as like, okay, I'll pay attention to that. But sometimes it's so spot on that it's like you're getting hit over the head, and this month seems to feel that way. If you don't follow astrologers, my favorite is Kai Pacha, Kaypacha. You can Google him. You'll find a video that he releases each week where he gives his forecast, Pele report, the forecast of what to expect in the next week in your life and how the planets are impacting that. And I have a lot of people ask, you know, really the planets? Like, what does that have to do with us here on this earth? Well, because we're also a planet, and we're, you know, based on water and made up of water, and the moon controls the tides and the water in our bodies, and so everything is connected. And if there are shifts in astrology happening beyond what we can see, there will be a match in vibration here on our planet also. And so you can use it as a guide to, you know, be able to navigate when things feel a little rocky or turbulent. So that is what I have been feeling for the last 2 weeks. There's just been an opening, and I have seen it in my own life and then in the lives of my clients, my friends, my children, my husband. You know, there's been a shaking up, waking up. It feels like it's rocky, you know, like you can't quite get your bearings, and also it's just loosening old stuck stories, old patterns, old ways of how we've done things. A friend of mine, her husband, has had this really bad cough for a week, and the illustration of that feels appropriate here. You know, when you cough, you're moving mucus up, you're cleaning out, you know, the inside of your respiratory system, and so that releasing of old lets you empty your space out so that you You can breathe more clearly. You can bring air in, fill up your lungs, and right, like exhale with relief. And so I feel the match to that in what is happening for so many of us. So if you're watching this, my guess is you have a match or you wouldn't have been pulled here. So perhaps settle down, sit, have a seat, and just see what is here for you. So how do we begin? Probably the first thing I would say is how nature, politics, the external systems and energies around us are also feeling that shaking, that waking up. We have had Hurricane Matthew move through the Caribbean, through Haiti, and then all the way up the East Coast from Florida all the way north, and it has been devastating with the disaster, towards human life, and then the things that we all hold on to, our houses, our cars, our jobs. But it has also been a wake up, a shaking up for so many people. We get very comfortable in these routines and these ways of predicting how life is going to go, and controlling and managing our schedules, our families, our budgets, our growth, everything. We feel like we've got it under control, we've got a handle on it. And then nature comes in and shakes everything up, and we lose control. We have to surrender this belief, surrender to this belief that there is a bigger plan that sometimes we lose touch with or we don't fully believe in. And when nature comes in with something as powerful as what Hurricane Matthew has been, people sit up, they pay attention, they notice the devastation, they notice the disruption, they notice the lack of control. And it can bring fear, obviously. Nature is very powerful. So it can bring fear when everything looks like it's being lost or looks like it's not going the way that we wanted it to. It can be a scary time. And yet there's some reason that happens, always. I truly believe that. There is nothing that is accidental in these lives that we're living. Everything is a co-creation between us and our environment and the people that we are in relationship with. And so when a hurricane comes through your neighborhood, through your town, and shakes everything up, there's something there that needed to be shaken up. And when we surrender to that and trust and have this absolute faith that something new and better is going to arrive on the other side, we put ourselves into a position of empowerment, of belief, of alignment with life, with nature, with the force of energy that is going to create new things. When we choose to be the victim of it, to go into fear, to stay in fear, to sit in the panic or the loss, the anger, all of those are healthy emotions. They're moving that, they're coughing up that junk, right? They're coughing up the mucus when you feel those emotions. And on the other side of that is trust and faith and belief and hope and love. They're two sides of the same energy, of the same emotion. And if we get stuck in one half and we don't flip over and go into the other half, we can spiral, we can stay in this place of expecting that life is going to keep wounding us, is going to keep hurting us. And so there's a leap to take, this leap of, it looks really crazy, it looks really out of control, and yet I know there's a reason this is happening, and I choose to go to the other side of the emotion and believe that the positive, that the expansion, that the healing is what's coming and is what I'm going to focus on. It's a big leap. It's a very big leap. So Hurricane Matthew is one external way where I see, as a nation and as a country, Haiti, the devastation that country and its residents keep going through is it's painful to watch, and yet there is something that is happening there that is clearing out stuck energy, that is bringing in the potential of something new that I believe in. And when that has happened to the whole east coast of our country, there's a big wake up that is happening for people. So we can stay stuck in the pain of it, or we can choose to, it's almost like following the rotation of a circle. There's another side that we can surrender down into, which is it's going to work out. There is something better coming, and I trust and believe in that. The same thing is happening in politics right now. Yikes. It is a crazy time here in the United States for the presidential election. And, what I would suggest is I'm not picking a side or saying either person is right or wrong, or it's more, what is all of this teaching us? Why? Why is this showing up in our government, in our system of politics, in our structure of this belief that the United States is, free, independent thinking and leadership and liberty for everyone? If that is true, then all of these beliefs and thoughts that both politicians are bringing up, it's a shaking up, it's a coughing, like when a patient has emphysema and you have to beat on their chests, or cystic fibrosis, you have to help them move the mucus. I see that on both sides, Democratic and Republican. There's a lot of beating of our chests and pointing of fingers and trying to jolt or shake the other person into speaking truth or clearing up old stories. And, all of the leaks that are happening in the news with videos and emails and, all of the stories, there's a digging underneath to see what is true that I feel is happening for everyone, for us watching, for the politicians who are, choosing, do they stand with their party's leader or not? For the people who have been one party or another their entire lives, that are now looking internally and going, do I even believe with the system? Do I agree with what they say? Am I willing to continue standing up for that cause or for that philosophy of government? And everyone in this country who is paying attention to this, who is aware of what's happening, we're examining. Hopefully. Hopefully we're examining. If not, we might just be flying through it and not paying attention. But if we're examining, there's a way to look inside first, to go into the self. What do I believe? As an American citizen, what is my understanding of what this country is meant to represent? And then how do I engage with that? What is my role in this political system? And bringing up the dirt on both sides is airing the dirty laundry. It's bringing up all the mucus, for all of us to look at and to see the truth, to see what is actually happening within the character of each politician. So this balancing of relationships, this balancing of truth and there's so much being balanced right now. But when you can look at it as an observer, I think this is where so many of us are getting stuck in that circle, right? We get stuck in the belief that the other person is bad, the other party is wrong, the other candidate, the one we don't agree with, that candidate has it all backwards, and the other candidate, even if they're not perfect, they're not, wrong. So there's this loop that I think many Americans are getting stuck in, which is there's only one side, there's only one way of seeing it, and that isn't true. There's always a duality, there's always a contrast to what we're seeing. I think in the debates on Sunday, it was a beautiful ending. It was an aggressive debate, and then at the end there was this beautiful ending where the moderators snuck in one last question, and they had somebody ask, is there anything positive that you would say to the other candidate about who they are? Right? That's a big question to ask someone who has spent months, if not a year, trashing the other person and trying to, point daggers, poke holes at the places where they are wrong. So I thought it was a great question, and you could feel the mood shift just slightly. Is there something positive about that other person? Is there anything redeemable in the character of the person that I am arguing against? And they found something, actually very well. I thought they both did well at answering that question. And it created just a softer ending for the debate. So I feel that potential, that possibility, whatever happens in politics, this shaking up of the past few months, this shaking up of the last month as we head into the elections, it's causing everyone to really examine who they are and what they believe and what they're going to stand up for. And that is a waking up, a shaking up that our country, I think, is going to expand from. It might not feel that way in this moment, and I know a lot of reporters and politicians are saying, how are we ever going to heal this country? How will we ever improve with this division, this hatred on both sides for the other? And I believe, I have faith that there is a loop that is going to happen. Right now it feels like we're stuck in this heaviness, this anger, the resentment, the bitterness of everything that has been brought up on both sides. But I believe there is always a common ground. There is always a place to go to the other side of the loop of the circle. And from there we find healing. We find deeper understanding of the other person's position. We find a common respect. What Trump said about Hillary is she never gives up. She never gives up. And that is an American trait, an American idealism that I think most people would identify with this country. The people who live here are fighters. They work hard. They choose to create new things and continue expanding what this country is capable of as a collective energy. And I believe in that, and I believe we'll find our way back to that. But first, it's like the cough. You got to get all the mucus out. You've got to shake loose all of the places where we're not balanced. So as we look at nature and politics, externally there are these reflections of what I believe the astrologers are talking about for this month of October. That here in our own selves, we have places where we don't always want to look at the duality. We'd rather just think we're perfect and we're doing everything great. And yet there's always contrast within our own space. There's always darkness and light. There's always sadness and joy, trust and distrust within ourselves. And what I find in my work is many of us are very uncomfortable with going in and looking at our own stuck places or blocks or wounds. We prefer to point the finger, just like the politicians, like, you're the one who's wrong, you're the one who's bad. It's not me, I did everything right. And yet, we know that's bullshit. We know that's not true. Of course, we are all flawed. Every one of us has contrast. We have both. And so my invitation is start paying attention to how much you're projecting out, how much you're pointing the finger at the other. A balanced relationship is the beautiful blending of two whole and complete individuals. I had a therapist once when I was going through my separation and divorce. She said, I'll try to show you with my hands. She said, so you and your husband are like this. You're like all, mushed together. And she said, when two individuals are healthy, there's one tree and there's another tree, and they both, stand up, and they both can come together and be whole and complete on their own. And the rooting systems of each of them are solid and grounded. And so there's a balanced growth together. They grow like this instead of, like this. And I thought that was such a beautiful visual. It's something that I've gone back to many times. When we are not balanced in ourselves, when we don't feel filled up and centered and grounded and clear on who we are and our flaws and our strengths, when we don't have a clear understanding of that, it's easy to feel fear and throw it out at somebody else, or feel anger and want to hide from the anger, and so we passive aggressively direct the anger at another person. Or same with sadness or joy. Sometimes joy is too much for us if we're not filled up and something incredible happens. This is what Gay Hendricks calls the upper limit. When you're not solid and centered and open to receiving and ready to get whatever comes your way that's good in life, you can only handle. It's like your arms can only go like to here, right? Like I can only hold this much joy. And so when more joy starts coming in and piling on top, and there's more and more and more, it's unsteady for us. It's too much. And so we create some disruption or catastrophe or disaster that will bring us back to just holding enough, not more than what we think we are capable of. Gay Hendricks describes it as an upper limit. You can handle this much joy, but then if life sends you a whole big pile on top of that, it's just too much. You can't handle it. And so you got to push it away somehow. You have to deflect it. It's the same for a healthy, balanced relationship. If one person is always trying to fill up the other person, or buffer for the other person, or take their anger and try to transmute it or release it because they don't know how to do it, it gets all messy. It's those two arms that are all wound together and they're not separate and whole individually. So the way to begin unraveling all of that is always with self. It's the same as what we see with politics. The only way for the politicians to unravel what's truth and what isn't is to go into themselves first and see what their truth is, see what their knowing is before they project onto other people. So as you feel where you're in balance or out of balance in your relationship right now, the fastest way to healing, the most grounded, consistent way to keep a relationship in balance is always to do your own work. It's always to go in and see, what are my fears? Where am I in lack right now? If I don't have enough time or enough support, or I'm not being heard, or I'm not being seen, or I don't get enough physical touch, or I don't get enough quality time. All of these ways that our energy systems, our souls, our hearts, our bodies need to be filled up. When we don't have that receiving coming in, and we're not solid and good, we don't have enough extra to go out to nurture those that are around us. So this is what we've been looking at on the Soulshine calls the past 2 weeks in meditation space, is how do we fill those places inside of ourselves first? How do we come in and feel settled and grounded? Many of us absorb energy or emotions for other people, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. The larger the number of people that you're managing or holding space for, taking care of, probably the more you're diluting yourself, because you have so much you have to take care of for everyone. And so that just means the more consistent and committed you should be to your own practice, to your own quiet time, to your own stillness. When you can come in and fill yourself up and feel calm, feel settled and content, you won't need to go seek it from others outside of you. And that is always the way to a more balanced relationship. Yeah, I was listening to this song before I started this call. It's called Loving Kindness by Ashana. And I just want to read you the words because it feels so important and so true right now. And her music is glorious if you haven't listened to it yet. She says, loving kindness for all beings, here in the highest, from the one beyond the stars, through the darkness into light. We behold the gift of peace. If we all could take that approach, can you even imagine what a shift we would see in our world? Even if we did that for a minute or two every morning, practicing loving kindness for others instead of anger and projection and resentment. If we could come back into a place of quiet and feel our hearts expanding, feel more love flowing through us, filling ourselves up first, and then washing out to other people. The energy, the vibration that we can ripple out into our families, our workplaces, our communities. It's not just you that gets impacted by that. When you ripple out loving kindness, it goes this way and this way and this way and this way and this way. And every single person who is touched by your loving kindness feels a shift, a flip, right? There's a match that you give to them of, whew, that felt good. And you create a dynamic in their vibration that makes them feel more uplifted and happier. I feel like I'm saying, just go be kind to everyone. I am, but I'm not saying to do it because of everyone else. I'm saying do it for yourself first because it will feel better to you. It will heal you. As you heal, as you expand, as you become more loving, as you become more conscious, more aware of how you're feeling and how you're engaging with other people, that energy is what goes out to others, and it's tangible. You can feel when someone is calm. You can feel when they're content and they don't need anything from you. They're just happy to be with you. That is such a gift to give to people. It is such a gift. Just being present with them and not needing anything from them is one of the most beautiful things you can bring to every relationship. And so it begins with each of us, right? It begins with each of us. I read this quote in a Martha Beck article. She's amazing. If you don't follow any of her work, she's just so wise. She said, "Truth is always calm, still, gentle, quietly and intensely alive." Let me read that to you again. It's so good. Truth is always calm, still, gentle, quietly and intensely alive. Yeah, it's true. It's true what she says about truth. And there is such power when you can be calm and still and surrender to what life is bringing you and surrender to the knowing that it's always working out. There is always something good that is going to come from what feels like the bad. There is always expansion that is going to come from the contraction. There is always darkness and light, and we need both. We need both inside of ourselves. We need both inside of our experiences with others. None of it is bad or wrong. It's just this existence of both together. And when we can trust in that and keep coming back to that, you will shift the way you show up for yourself and for everyone else in your relationships, in your life. Yeah. So what I wanted to offer, if you are interested, is maybe just a 5 or 10 minute meditation together. If you are not interested in meditation, you can go ahead and turn off the video and wrap up. But if you are new to it or familiar with meditation, to me it feels like pausing in the center of the storm that is happening in and around us right now. Pausing and taking a moment to check in and feel what's happening for yourself, and then filling up for a few moments. Feels like it would serve. So I'm going to meditate with you out loud the way that I do it on the Soul Shine calls and, in the meditations that are on my YouTube channel, so you can feel the vibration of what I'm holding with you. All right. So if you're complete, have a great day. If you're staying, go ahead and settle yourself into a chair or on the floor, wherever you want to be in this moment. I'm guessing we'll go 5 or 10 minutes, but I'm not going to keep my eyes open to track the clock, so we'll just see where it goes. All right, so go ahead and close your eyes. Let yourself drop all the way into your body. And what I mean by that is, feel the density of your hip bones, of your bottom sitting on the chair. Bring your attention and your awareness down to that part of you that is closest to the earth. Perhaps it's your feet, which are resting on the floor. For me, I have my legs cross-legged, so I can feel how my hip bones are the densest spot, the lowest part of my energy system. And so you can just imagine making that area heavier. So it's like you take the bones and you visualize that the bones become heavy, heavy metal or a really dense rock. Perhaps a really heavy tree, like with a big tree trunk. And you can just feel how by making that more solid, heavier, lower, your body starts to feel pulled down, or at least mine does as I'm holding space for all who are watching this. There's a pulling down feeling. For many of us, we operate with our energy outside of us. If you can visualize, it's like you have a shadow or an aspect of yourself that is your consciousness, your energy system, and it's just a little outside or above you. So just like your shadow when you're walking down the road, you can see it trailing behind or in front or to the side of you. It's the same thing with your energy. For many of us, we don't want to be in our bodies or feel the struggle of heaviness of our bodies, the density of the emotions. And so we tend to check out. We kind of energetically leave our bodies. We're still attached, we're still around, but we're not in and down. So as you feel what I'm describing with your hips or your feet, imagine you can invite all of you, your shadow, your light, your energy, your soul, all of you to just start to come back down and in. All the way into your lower hips, into your chest. If it starts to feel tight, like it's harder to breathe, or your belly is a little squished, or your back is contracting or perhaps hunching over a little bit, just loosen all the muscles and stretch yourself out. And then feel how the energy can be redistributed through your body. So you can send energy all the way down your legs to your feet. You can send energy all the way from your chest, out your arms to your fingertips. And then you can just connect back in with your breath. Notice if your breathing wants to slow down. If so, just follow what the natural rhythm of your breathing would be. And imagine as you're breathing out in your exhale, you can keep allowing your energy to come down and into your body. So perhaps you were 50% present, and then as you're noticing your breath and you're feeling the density of your body again, maybe you're 70% present or 80% present. And it's not a race or a competition or a judgment that you need to make with yourself. It's just an invitation. Can my entire body, spirit, heart, energy all come into alignment here in this moment? So I can check in with myself. So I can be in truth and be quietly and intensely alive, even in the stillness. Yeah, And then just relax your body. Loosen the muscles. Loosen your shoulder blades. You can wiggle your jaw. The jaw is where we hold all of these old painful stories and choked back words, old patterns. And so often when we start to connect in with our body and our energy again, our jaws can feel like they're locking up. It's just because that's where we hold those places of pain, those memories. And what you can do if you want is just start wiggling your jaw, right? You can just start moving it. Many people will yawn, so they'll feel, right? Energy moves. Energy can be a physical expression, often is, when it's moving. So you might yawn or burp. You might need to wiggle something loose. If you have a tightness in your shoulder or your back, when you become still and you feel that, you can wiggle, you can dislodge stuck energy and then start yawning. Excuse me. You can start yawning and move it out. What I often guide people through in meditation is use your feet as a clearinghouse. So as you put your feet on the earth or on the floor, the carpet, wherever you are, you can imagine hooking your feet into the earth. So you grow roots, or you imagine you have magnetic gravity shoes that hook you in. And then you choose to just allow energy to move and release from your feet out into the earth. And it's just like a recycling center, when you pause and you feel stuck energy, stuck places in your body. And then you just choose to hand over the blocks, hand over the places that don't feel great. You get the energy moving again. It's like when people do feng shui and they have someone come in and go through the house and they'll say energy gets stuck in this corner, so put in a wind chime, or you need a fan to circulate the energy. When you position these things here, there's a balance of the energy. That's in a furniture, a home setting. Your body is the same way. It's a storehouse of energy. It is meant to be an energetic vibrational conduit. So energy flows in and it flows out. It flows through. When it gets stuck and trapped, there's just a choice to let it go or to get it moving again. So you can just choose. You put your feet on the floor and just choose if you want to feel the tar, the stuck places, the old beliefs that maybe don't serve anymore, the feelings you don't want to be with. You can just allow them to start moving. And so they just start draining out your feet or yawning out your mouth. And what you should notice as you get energy moving again is that there's this peace, this quiet or stillness that starts to happen inside your physical body and then also inside your mind. As you slow down the ways that you're connected to everything and everyone around you, and you pause and you pull inward, and you connect into the earth, there's a stillness that is always waiting here for you. I get these messages from the universe every day, which I think everyone should receive, by Mike Dooley. They're amazing. And the one this morning said something, I hope I paraphrase it properly, but it said, if you're seeking an answer to something, go in and find it in the stillness. Guaranteed it will be there. Yeah, that is truth. Inside of yourself, there will always be the answer that you are looking for outside of yourself. Inside of yourself, there will always be the love that you're looking for outside of yourself. Inside of yourself is always this peace, this stillness, this beautiful space of rest that so many of us seek outside of ourselves. Yeah, so you may want to hang out here for a little while. If so, you can just hit pause or stop on the video and just sit in the stillness and see what is here for you. If this is enough and you feel filled up and ready to take this centered, grounded version of yourself back out into the world, the relationships around you, go ahead and just take a few more breaths. Feel yourself pulling that strength all the way into the center of your body. Feel yourself connecting into the earth, knowing that you are held and supported. That gravity will keep you here. You are not going to fly away. There is always this connection to the earth underneath us. Good. And then you can just trust, right? This stillness is accessible any moment that you choose. You just have to bring your awareness back to it. So know that that is something you can create for yourself all day, every day, any day. Good. All right, you can go ahead and open your eyes. Oh, my eyes always water after meditation. So thank you. Thank you for joining me for today's unexpected journey into balanced relationships. It was, as always, perfect. All right, have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week.